In everyday language, we use simple and easy to mean the same thing. And similarly, we often use hard and complex and complicated, all kind of as synonyms. And one of the things that I've done based on some articles that I've read, I know an article by John Keeley was one of the ones that kind of got me along this thinking, is to differentiate between easy and simple and hard and complex. So for me, the spectrum from easy to hard is individual based, and the spectrum from simple to complex is task based. So to use the example of a layup, a player dribbles in, shoots a layup, let's say it's a pregame layup drill, nice 3/4 speed, dribble at the basket, make a layup. That is a simple task. The player determines when to go, so the effort is predetermined or pre-selected. The shooter is going to determine the speed of movement, so it's self-paced. And then from repetition to repetition, there's very little variability. So, if I'm in a layup drill on the right-hand side of the court, I go in, I shoot a layup on the right-hand side of the court on my first repetition. On my second repetition, I'm trying to do more or less the same thing. So there's very little variability. Conversely, for some players, even though it's a simple task, it's very hard or very difficult. So if you take a young player, just learning maybe, or a young 6 or 7 year old, and you're asking them to shoot a layup on a 10-foot basket, that could be very difficult for them because they lack the strength. Maybe they lack the coordination to coordinate their movements, to move from running to jumping to shooting, something of this nature. So it's they're lacking something to be able to perform the task. So whereas you take an NBA player and a layup, in pregame warm-ups is easy. That's because they're big, they're strong, they're coordinated. It's easy. So the difference isn't in the task. The layup is the same from one person to the next. The difference is individual, right? So what may be easy for one person would be hard for another. What's easy for an NBA player is hard, for a 7-year-old. But the task, what they're actually trying to do, is exactly the same. They're trying to shoot a right-handed layup. So the task doesn't change. Therefore, when we're talking about easy to hard, we're looking at individual characteristics or individual abilities. When we're talking about simple to complex, then we're speaking of the task or the skill that we're asking a player to do. So on that layup, if you take that same pregame layup and now you put into a game, now it's going to be more complex, because as I'm dribbling to the basket, my speed I can't be self-paced. My speed is going to be determined, at least in part, by the defense. Because if I want to get past a defensive player, I'm going to have to move faster. Or if a defensive player is in front of me or behind me, it's going to dictate how fast or where I move. So within a game situation, there's going to be variability even within a single repetition. So I can't just dribble straight at the basket because the defensive player might be there. I may have a passing option, so I have to make a decision whether I should take the shot or whether I should pass to a teammate. And then within a game, no two shots are going to be the same. So I might, in a game, shoot 2 right-handed layups, but they're going to be different. One of them might be a breakaway where I have a player, a foot or two behind me and I'm sprinting full speed to finish that layup. The other one, I might be attacking the basket in the half court, so I'm not at maximum speed, and I have a help defensive player rotating in front of me, and now I have to alter my shot to shoot over somebody who's in front of me. Those are the same classification of shots. They're both right-handed layups, but they're completely different shots in terms of the speed, in terms of the defense, in terms of the options and choices that I might have, and therefore it's a much more complex shot than the one that I shoot in pregame warm-ups, where none of this variability or none of the choices or none of the speed is present. And so that's the difference within a task of going from simple to complex. So when we're designing practices, these are the two things that we want to look at. So if a player is capable, if the individuals on the team are capable of performing a skill, so once players are of a certain age or a certain level of strength, then shooting a layup becomes easier. They might not make 100%, but they're fully capable of shooting the layup. So then it makes sense to practice that layup. But they're going to face situations in games that go beyond the complexity of a simple pregame layup. So now you have to factor in, well, it's become easy for them to shoot a layup because they have the physical capability to shoot a layup now. So now we need to look at the task. Are they still just learning the skill because they've just acquired the strength, and so maybe we need to keep it simple and work without defense? Or, have they kind of learned to shoot a layup already? They've developed the coordination, and now we need to work on the skill. And the skill is going to require them to make decisions, work at faster speeds, change their shot angle from repetition to repetition. So now we need to add complexity. So these are the two things to think of when we're looking at designing drills. We have to be aware of our individual capabilities, how easy or hard a task is for a set group of players or a single individual player. And then we need to modify the task and either simplify or add complexity to challenge the players or player to enhance their game and help them improve. So if the layup is both easy and simple for a young player, and we continue to do this easy drill, they're not really going to get better. They need to add either some form of difficulty, which may be shooting with their left hand. That then, once they've mastered their right hand layup, maybe shooting with their left hand is hard or is difficult, but it's still a simple task. It's become hard because it's something new, and it's something that's maybe, again, beyond their coordination level because they may lack the coordination at that age with their weak hand, especially compared to their strong hand. So maybe that's how we progress the skills, to move from right hand to left hand, and try to get them to adapt and to develop and make the left hand layup easier before we work on complexity. Or maybe we can say most of the layups that we're going to shoot in a game are with our right hand, but they're not going to be basic, easy pre-game warm-up layups. We're going to have defense and we're going to have faster speed, and so we're going to add complexity to drills. We're going to add a defense. Maybe start out with a defense chasing the offensive player, so they have to go with speed. Then maybe you have defenders in front, so they have to make a choice of whether they're going to go right or left, or how are they going to create a shot versus that defensive player. So again, these are the two kind of things when we talk about task manipulation or modifying games and drills for players, that we need to be aware of is the individual capabilities of players, but then also how can we add complexity or simplify a task based on the needs and the skills and the abilities of the players.